right, today I'm with Vedna Heywood, who is one of 5 candidates running for 3 spots on a 3-year term with the Plymouth School Committee. Welcome.
Thank you.
You are an incumbent on the school committee?
Yes.
Okay, and we're going to get right into the questions.
Okay.
Starting with a statement. $119 million budget that passed at town meeting will fund the department at the current level. It does not include any pay raises that are being negotiated with the school unions, and more will be requested in the fall. How do you determine your budget priorities, given the mandates that you have no control over, the undetermined pay raises, and the state funding, which has not been finalized?
So we determined the budget first and foremost by the students' needs. So, so initially, that is the rationale for a school budget to begin with.
Yep.
Is focusing on the student needs, also looking at our strategic plan as well, and the goals that we would like to attain. We also look at the budget in terms of what does it majorly encompass, and at this point, it does encompass salaries, right?
Yeah.
So the majority of our budget is based on salaries, and in the spirit of fairness, we have to look at what is best for the educators. They are essentially, it's not only our students, but without our educators, our students don't get taught. So that's another piece to this. But it's also balancing, aside from educational needs, it's the needs of our facilities. It is also based on, and then we have to balance that with the desires of the town as well, the constituency, the people that actually pay into the system that provide our budget.
Now, how does the desires of the town, how are those brought to the school committee so that they then can encompass that in their discussions about a budget? And can you give me some examples?
So I would say in this last and previous go-arounds as well, we do make an effort to visit town precincts, their caucuses, to speak to them regarding the needs of the school. So that's one way. We try to engage the constituency, whether that be through our meetings essentially, or attempting to have some sort of like town halls or things like that to speak about the budget. I think we could improve on that in terms of maybe the timing and not necessarily gearing it towards when we're speaking of the budget. So normally our budget review starts in December, heading into April town meeting. For this approval, but maybe there is a need to have these conversations earlier so that there is a clear, in terms of like a clear understanding within the community as to what it is we are asking for and how that impacts them.
Now, you said about the strategic plan that a lot of your funding is based on the strategic plan.
Some of the funding is based on the strategic plan.
How does that have to get altered if you find out there is a big item that you hadn't thought of, or the funding that you're going to get from the state is dramatically less than you thought? How do you adjust the strategic plan to adjust to funding?
So the strategic plan is not something that's created on a whim, and we actually have stakeholder involvement in terms of that strategic plan. So it's not only just the district, we're involving, we always ask for parental involvement, we ask for other stakeholders within the community, and this goes on for months. Okay, so it's, so there is time allotted to kind of take in some of those, issues. In terms of, it would have to be something that we are that would kind of blindside us. And so even in that, there's always course correction, right?
Yeah, right.
So, but in terms of budget, this is an ongoing issue as we deal with like inflationary costs, especially after COVID. As we deal with some of the constraints in terms of our like mandates, as we deal just in in negotiations, so on and so forth, and then state funding. It's these are ongoing issues, and we just have to perhaps think of like maybe long-term planning as it relates to the budgets. Not that we aren't. Whenever we're talking about the budgets, we attempt to do at least two cycles.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to go on to question number 2. What is your philosophy on special education, And what do you think it means for students to be supported in the least restrictive environment?
What is my philosophy on special education and for students to be supported in the least restrictive environments? That's an interesting question. So my philosophy on special education is that, I feel that in terms of education, there is not one key that unlocks a child's ability to attain their education. And so for me, special education is paramount. And so I feel that we have to always continually look at how we are, allocating resources towards special education. And so are we great at this? I don't know if anyone is for sure, but certainly we take into account the needs of the families and our students. We do have a CPAC committee that does inform us, of how we are giving special ed in within the district.
So for anyone who doesn't know what CPAC stands for?
So it's a special education, it's a family, it's
like an advisory council?
It's an advisory council.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
It's an advisory council.
So they help
they are
distill what is being done?
Because we are the providers and they are the receivers of that of special education within this system. So to me, it's very, very important. On the spectrum in terms of how we provide education in the system, everyone to us should have like equal allocation of services. So the only issue is obviously in terms of even recently with legislation, the monetary requirement for special ed has gone up significantly.
And the number of students, obviously, they're on IEPs or any other require any services has increased dramatically. So that obviously increases that special ed budget dramatically.
Yeah. But it increases dramatically because now we're fine-tuning, the needs of the students, right? So a lot of people will say, oh, this didn't happen or this didn't occur when I was, going to school. Yeah, I do believe I remember it when I was going to school, okay? But, but in that instance, there wasn't full integration of those students within your system. So they were set aside. I'm happy to, know that we have full integration of that, within where we're being representative of what this, what our country is, right? So it does exist, and maybe this ability to actually identify some of this is why we're seeing it supposedly more.
Okay.
If that's what's being said.
And the mandates that you have for special education from the state are not funded.
Yes.
Talk about that. What kind of a challenge does that present?
It presents a challenge with any unfunded mandate. So you have to be creative in terms of how you are providing services and or education to any of our unfunded mandates. That continues to be a particular, this is where you become creative to, speak to your legislators, right? We're not this insular piece in terms of the town. We, our success is predicated not only on our town government, but our legislative, local and state government as well. So what do we do to kind of advocate for that so that there is funding?
Okay. So legislative funding is a big piece of this.
Yes.
And I think all school systems are in the same.
Yes.
Obviously in the same boat.
Yes.
Because it's unfunded for everybody.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Throughout the state. So you have to become creative. So there are grant opportunities that we look toward to kind of help us, but always making sure that we are really focusing on providing that care and not necessarily absconding with it or not doing it.
Okay. Yeah. Question number 3. There are often two very different sides to subject matters that are brought before the school board. How do you navigate your personal opinions in regards to complex issues?
Navigating my personal opinions. So I think my So my profession by trade is a nurse,
Mm-hmm.
and so how I navigate my so I don't have the luxury of picking my patients based on us having similar worldviews.
Right.
So that's how I approach. My tenure or my. I guess my ability to be a school committee person.
Right.
I have to look at everyone because that's who I'm serving. I'm serving everyone. I'm not serving a specific part of the population. So I have to take into account their, how they're feeling and try to mix that in, whether that be policy or other issues. So that's how I approach things. When you run for these particular seats, these are nonpartisan seats. So and we're talking about children. So why would we limit, based on a particular parent's view? No, we're serving the whole population, and that's how I go about this.
Right.
I try to solicit information from other people. Always trying to engage in dialogue, and that's how I approach things.
So there's 5 of you on the school committee.
Yeah. No, there's more than 5. There's 7 of us.
Oh, there's seven. Excuse me.
yes,
There's 7 on the school committee. So that's a large school committee.
Yeah.
So do you often kind of split 4-3 on how you feel about something, and is it always majority rules or?
It is always majority rules.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that we're always split. I think one great thing about our current school committee is that we are focused on the needs of the student.
Okay.
So even if we may have different views, we take into account the views of our other school committee members in making those decisions. We try to, at least, within our public forums, hash out some of our concerns, and then from that make our decisions. And sometimes we come in, obviously, because we see the agenda previous. Clearly, we're looking over the agenda previously. And sometimes maybe what we came in with is not what we're coming out with, because we're now, in present time hearing the concerns of others. And so sometimes our decisions change based on that. So I don't think we're always necessarily split because our focus remains the same amongst all of us. Our intention is the same. What is the best for our district? What is the best for our parents, our families, our teachers?
Okay, that is fair. Question number 4. What are Plymouth Public Schools' greatest strengths, and what are the areas that absolutely need improvement?
So our greatest strength is our dedicated educators.
Okay.
That is one of our greatest strengths. We have passionate educators who are committed to providing quality education for our students. Our another strength is our community, the community that surrounds us. We have a strong sense of community engagement, and we have very strong parent-teacher associations. We have volunteer opportunities and community partnerships. We have a variety of programs that exist within the school that give children, a sense. I think of my son. He's 11, and I always kind of wait until I can see these after-school programs and kind of say, "Hey, honey, what do you want to do?"
Yeah.
And so that's wonderful that there's there's extracurriculars that kind of keep the kids engaged, keep them part of that community. I think even our ability, even though we can still improve, but our attempts at communication, I think that's also a strength in terms of the school. And then and our curriculum. Our curriculum is rigorous, so that's a positive. Areas of improvement, always areas of improvement. So we talked about, I think just given, I'm going to talk about the last 3 or 4 years, I think just with the fallout in terms of COVID, just our, we're doing, I believe we're doing better in terms of our recovery, but that's a place that, I think needs continuous review. It's difficult, I also think, too, just because of the advent of the limited resources that exist, mental health supports. That's something that we could certainly work better with. I think.
And all those things take money.
Yes, they do.
They do. And then it
They do.
kind of always circles back to the budget. I mean, if the budget was unlimited, clearly that would be utopia.
I know. But it's It's communicating the rationale for the budget so that people have an understanding that if we invest now, we're going to invest less later. So I think about yourself, Julie. I think about myself. The formidable years of my education were based on what I received at a lower school level. This is whether you go to college or not. This is your foundation. And so if we're able to equip people at these elementary stages, then we're equipping an adult that is going to be this person that assists in your community. That's an integral part of your community. And I want people to understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you said that one of the strengths was the fact that the school district, the whole system, is very integrated in community.
Yes.
Can you give some examples?
So recently we just had a health fair, right?
Okay.
So where we had community stakeholders come in. I remember, I don't know what the numbers are coming out of this last health fair, but the previous health fair to that, there were over 1,000 people that came to this health fair. So those are people coming into the community. To see our CPAC, to see another organization. We have Hope Floats that exists in Kingston, to see other community-based organizations and how we are helping each other. The school has relationships with certain businesses. Look at our business fair, right? And how the kids at an elementary level had the ability to mentor with other community members who run businesses. I mean, these are the relationships we have, with a hospital. It goes on and on. So there are always like attempts, in terms of us being fully integrated. We don't want to be insular. Our students and our educators are people who live here. Right. So
Yeah. If you had to give the school system a grade, F- all the way up to A+.
So interesting. So I just had this at last panel. I would say a B+.
Okay.
I have B+. We always room for improvement. Always room for improvement. And I think as a school committee member, that's what you should be doing. Like, where can we have areas, to say that we are, A+ is not to be realistic. And honestly, I think even as singular human beings, there's always room for improvement. So I'll say a B+.
Okay. All right. So we're going to give you an opportunity to speak directly to the constituents to tell them why you believe they should vote for you.
Okay. I'd like to thank the local scene for putting on this forum in order to educate our constituency on the candidates running for office. And so today I would just like to stand before you just with a profound sense of duty and dedication to our community's education system. As you know, being an effective member of the school committee requires more than just a title. It demands a commitment to collaboration, communication, and resourcefulness. I firmly believe that the effective governance begins with listening. Listening to the concerns of parents, educators, and community leaders is paramount to maintaining and improving our standards of education. It is through this open dialogue and cooperation that we ensure that our children receive quality education they deserve while being mindful of fiscal responsibility. Our children are essentially our future. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. And it's our collective responsibility to provide them with the best opportunities for success. This means supporting our educators with the resources that they need to thrive in the classrooms and advocating for the engagement of all families, especially those who are underserved. By making resources more transparent and accessible, we create a more equitable educational environment for all. Our educators are the heart and souls of our schools. They inspire, they mentor, and they guide our children, shaping the minds of the next generation. And we must provide them with resources and support that they need to excel at their vital role. A strong budget allows us to invest in professional development opportunities and so on, in order to empower our educators to continue delivering excellence in our education. Importantly is our commitment to maintaining and elevating educational standards. And as a member of the school committee, I pledge to you to champion for a strong budget that supports and preserves our educators and upholds our standards. I will work tirelessly to ensure that every dollar is used effectively and efficiently to focus on maximizing the impact of our student learning. I offer integrity, dedication, and a track record of service, and I am committed to transparency and collaboration, and I am ready to tackle the responsibilities of being an effective member of the Plymouth School School Committee. So in closing, I humbly ask for your vote on May 18th. My name is Vedna Heywood, and I will continue to work for you and the district because I believe in the power of the community to shape a brighter future for generations to come. Together, we will continue to invest in this future for our children and our community. Thank you.
So close. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Vedna. Thank you very much. And thank you. We wish you best of luck in the campaign and during this election season. Please do make your choices heard by voting on or before May 18th in the Plymouth town election. Thank you and good day.